They told him there were no rooms left until someone else walked in. What they didn't know was that the man they rejected wasn't just any traveler. He was a global icon, rapper Snoop Dogg, with the power to rewrite their fate. The rain came down in sheets, drumming loudly on the roof of Snoop's sleek black SUV as he pulled into the circular driveway of the Imperial Sunset Hotel in Long Beach, California. The golden glow of the chandeliers spilled out onto the wet pavement, reflecting an aura of luxury. For most, the hotel was a sanctuary, a haven of comfort for weary travelers. But tonight, Snoop wasn't met with that kind of welcome. He stepped out of his car, adjusting the collar of his iconic blue and gold jacket. At 6'4", with a commanding presence, Snoop was hard to miss. His polished shoes echoed softly on the marble floor as he entered the lobby. The scent of fresh-cut roses hung in the air, blending with the fainter aroma of espresso from the nearby lounge. Snoop approached the reception desk with his signature laid-back smile. "Good evening," he said, his voice calm yet warm. "I'd like a room for the night. My flight got delayed, and I'll need a place to stay before catching the next one." The front desk clerk, a younger man with slicked-back blonde hair and a name tag that read Evan, barely glanced up. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, typing slowly, deliberately. "I'm sorry, sir," he said with a tone that wasn't sorry at all. "We're fully booked." Snoop glanced around the lobby. It wasn't bustling, and the soft chime of an elevator marked the arrival of only one other guest. He leaned slightly forward, his smile unchanging. "Fully booked, you say? Not even a single room?" Evan finally looked up, his lips curling into a thin smile. "That's correct. There's nothing available." Before Snoop could respond, the revolving doors spun open, and a middle-aged couple entered, their suitcases wheeling behind them. Evan's demeanor shifted instantly. His smile widened, and his tone became honeyed. "Welcome to the Imperial Sunset. Do you have a reservation?" The man shook his head, and the clerk nodded enthusiastically. "Not a problem. Let me check for availability." Snoop stood there, his calm mask slipping just slightly. He watched as Evan tapped the keyboard again, and within moments produced a room key for the couple. "Enjoy your stay," Evan said brightly as they walked away. Snoop cleared his throat, drawing Evan's attention back. "I thought you said you were fully booked." Evan's eyes flickered briefly, his practiced smile faltering. I meant we don't have anything that would suit your needs." Snoop felt the weight of the moment settle in. It wasn't about availability. It wasn't about him being late or last minute. It was about something far uglier. The realization hit, but Snoop didn't react. Instead, he straightened his posture, his expression unreadable. "Thank you for your time," he said, his voice as composed as when he'd entered. Without another word, he turned on his heel and walked out into the rain. But this wasn't the end of the night. It was only the beginning. Snoop stepped back into the rain, his mind calm despite the sting of the encounter. He stood under the awning, letting the patter of rain on the canopy above fill the silence. Pulling out his phone, he scrolled through a list of nearby hotels, but his attention remained fixed on the revolving doors behind him. Something about the scene he had just witnessed lingered like a faint smell that wouldn't dissipate. He leaned casually against a marble pillar, just out of sight of the lobby but close enough to observe. It didn't take long for his suspicions to be confirmed. A young man in his 20s, wearing cargo pants and a hoodie, strolled in. He looked travel-worn, his backpack slung low over one shoulder. Snoop watched as the man approached Evan with the same request he had made minutes earlier. A room for the night. Snoop couldn't hear the exchange, but he didn't need to. Evan's exaggerated nods and wide smile said everything. Within moments, the man was handed a key card. No hesitation, no excuses, just a swift transaction and a courteous farewell. Snoop's lips pressed into a firm line. It wasn't an oversight. It wasn't an accident. It was intentional. He lingered a moment longer, contemplating his next move. His first instinct was to confront the clerk, call out the hypocrisy right there in the lobby, but years of navigating the music industry and business had taught him the value of restraint. There was a time to speak and a time to act. Tonight, it was the latter. He slipped back into his car, the leather seat cool against his back as he drove away, the hotel's golden lights fading in his rearview mirror. An idea began to take shape. This wasn't just about him. It was about every other person who might have faced the same quiet rejection, but didn't have the means or the voice to challenge it. Snoop wasn't going to let this pass. Not tonight. Not ever. The windshield wipers danced rhythmically as Snoop navigated the wet streets of Long Beach. The hotel's rejection replayed in his mind, not as a wound, but as fuel. He wasn't angry. Anger wasted energy. Instead, he felt something sharper, focused, determination. He had spent decades building his empire by outsmarting those who underestimated him. Tonight, he would remind himself and others of the value of dignity and justice. He pulled into the parking lot of a nearby diner, a humble spot with a glowing red neon sign that read, Moe's 24/7 Eats. Inside, the smell of coffee and sizzling bacon greeted him. Snoop slid into a booth by the window, pulling out his laptop. A waitress approached with a steaming mug of coffee, setting it down without a word. He thanked her with a nod and began typing furiously. Snoop had been eyeing the Imperial Sunset Hotel for months. The property was part of a struggling chain, and whispers of its sale had reached his team during a routine investment meeting. He hadn't given it much thought at the time. It was a small fish compared to the global ventures he usually pursued. But tonight had changed everything. Within minutes, he had dialed his attorney, Lisa Reynolds, a sharp negotiator with a reputation for closing deals at lightning speed. "Lisa, I need the paperwork on the Imperial Sunset Hotel finalized by sunrise," he said, his voice steady but commanding. "Sunrise, Snoop? That's ambitious even for you," Lisa echoed, caught off guard. "Consider it done, Lisa," he replied, the tone leaving no room for debate. "Send the paperwork to my phone as soon as it's ready. I'll sign electronically." He hung up and stared out the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. Over the next few hours, Snoop's team worked tirelessly to finalize the deal. By the time the first light of dawn broke, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and pink, the deal was sealed. The Imperial Sunset Hotel was his. Snoop closed his laptop and took a deep breath. His coffee had gone cold, but he didn't care. The real work was about to begin. The morning sun glinted off the glass facade of the Imperial Sunset Hotel as Snoop stepped out of his car, a quiet confidence radiating from him. Dressed sharply in a custom-designed jacket, he adjusted his sunglasses and glanced up at the building. It was a symbol of exclusivity, its polished exterior hiding the flaws beneath. Today, those flaws would be exposed. The hotel staff were bustling about, preparing for another day of catering to their affluent guests. Evan, the front desk clerk, was already behind the counter, his polished demeanor firmly in place. He didn't notice Snoop walk in, at least not at first. Snoop took his time, observing the space with fresh eyes. He noticed the staff exchanging brief glances as they passed him, their expressions flickering with curiosity and subtle unease. Perhaps it was the aura he carried, a calm authority that hinted at something significant. When he approached the front desk, Evan's practiced smile appeared. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you today?" Snoop didn't respond immediately. Instead, he set a small black folder on the counter, its edges sharp and pristine. He opened it slowly, revealing a stack of legal documents stamped and signed. Evan's smile faltered, confusion flickering across his face. "I'm here to make an introduction," Snoop began, his tone measured but firm. "My name is Snoop Dogg, and as of this morning, I am the new owner of the Imperial Sunset Hotel." The room seemed to hold its breath. The other staff members froze mid-task, their heads turning toward the lobby. Evan's face turned a pale shade, his composure crumbling as he tried to process the words. I don't understand," Evan stammered, his usual slick confidence nowhere to be found. "I'll make it simple," Snoop continued, his eyes locking onto Evan's. "This hotel is now under my ownership, and last night I had the pleasure of experiencing firsthand how some of the staff treat potential guests. Let's just say I was unimpressed." Evan's mouth opened, but no words came out. Snoop held up a hand, silencing any attempt at an excuse. "No need to explain. Actions speak louder than words, and your actions, they spoke volumes." Snoop turned to address the staff, now gathered in the lobby, their faces a mix of apprehension and curiosity. Among them were those like Maria, the housekeeper who had always felt the silent prejudice in the air, and Tom, the night porter who had heard Evan's snide comments about certain guests. They watched with a blend of hope and fear. I believe in running businesses that represent fairness, respect, and inclusivity. Unfortunately, this hotel fell short of that standard, but that's going to change starting today. The tension in the room was palpable, but Snoop didn't let it linger. You'll all have the opportunity to grow with this new chapter, except for those who refuse to treat every guest with dignity. I don't tolerate prejudice in any form. Evan's face flushed red, and he muttered something under his breath, but Snoop didn't give him the chance to speak. Your actions last night have no place in the future of this hotel. You're dismissed, effective immediately. Evan's jaw dropped, but the words hung in the air, final and absolute. The other staff looked on, some nodding subtly, others exchanging glances. Snoop could feel the shift, a ripple of understanding spreading through the room. Let me be clear, Snoop began, pacing slowly, his voice firm but not unkind. This isn't just about last night. This is about the culture of this hotel, the message it sends, and the experience it provides to every person who walks through those doors. The staff hung on his words, their attention unwavering. What happened last night wasn't just a slight against me. It was a reflection of something much larger, a mindset that has no place here. From this moment forward, this hotel will represent respect and inclusion. That means change, starting with new policies and training. Snoop gestured to Maria, who had been with the hotel for over a decade. What's your name? Maria, she replied, her voice tentative but hopeful. Well, Maria, he said, offering her a reassuring smile. You and the rest of the team will undergo comprehensive training to ensure every guest feels valued, regardless of who they are or where they come from. Maria nodded, her initial apprehension softening into understanding. Snoop could see the others slowly beginning to relax as well, their shoulders less rigid, their expressions more open. But let me be clear about something else, Snoop continued. I'm not here to punish anyone unfairly. Mistakes happen, and growth is possible if you're willing to embrace these changes. There's a place for you here, but if not, it's better for all of us to part ways. He let the silence linger for a moment, giving his words time to sink in. This hotel has the potential to be more than just a place to sleep or hold conferences. It can be a beacon, a symbol of what hospitality should be. And with the right team, I know we can make that happen. Snoop took a step back, surveying the room. The atmosphere had shifted dramatically since his entrance. Where there had been fear and tension, there was now a cautious optimism. I've already put the wheels in motion, he added. A new general manager will be arriving next week, and the renovation plans will begin immediately. This is a fresh start for all of us. With a faint smile, he added, let's make this hotel something we can all be proud of. The staff exchanged glances, some whispering softly among themselves. Snoop could see that his message had resonated. The foundation for change had been laid. The weeks that followed were nothing short of revolutionary for the Imperial Sunset Hotel. Construction crews moved in almost immediately, updating everything from the outdated decor to the hotel's infrastructure. Walls that had once felt cold and sterile were repainted with warm, inviting tones. The lobby was transformed into a space that felt welcoming, not intimidating, a place where anyone could walk in and feel they belonged. Snoop had a hands-on approach, personally overseeing much of the process. He wasn't the kind of leader who barked orders from afar. He was present, engaging with staff and guests alike. His energy was infectious, inspiring the team to embrace the vision he had laid out. The training sessions became the backbone of the transformation. Professionals were brought in to lead workshops on diversity, equity, and inclusion. These weren't lectures. They were conversations. Staff shared their experiences, confronted their biases, and learned how to create an environment of genuine hospitality. Maria, the housekeeper, quickly became a standout. Her natural empathy and knack for problem-solving earned her a promotion to assistant manager. I never thought I'd have this kind of opportunity, she admitted to Snoop during one of their check-ins. He simply smiled and said, You earned it. Word of the hotel's transformation spread quickly. Former guests, drawn by curiosity, returned to see the changes for themselves. New guests arrived, intrigued by the stories of how the hotel had turned itself around. Reviews began pouring in. filled with praise not just for the luxurious accommodations, but for the atmosphere of kindness and respect that now permeated every interaction. The once prejudiced reputation of the Imperial Sunset Hotel was replaced by one of inclusivity and excellence. Snoop made sure to highlight the stories of his team members who had grown and thrived through the process, showing the world that change wasn't just possible, it was powerful. It was a crisp morning when Snoop stood in the hotel's newly renovated lobby, sipping a cup of freshly brewed coffee. The sunlight poured through the large windows, highlighting the polished marble floors and the fresh flowers adorning every corner. Guests bustled in and out, greeted warmly by the staff, each interaction a testament to the hotel's transformation. Maria approached him, holding a clipboard. "Mr. Dogg, the final guest survey results are in." Over 90% of visitors mentioned the hospitality as the highlight of their stay. Snoop smiled, setting his cup down. "That's what I like to hear, Maria. It's not just about the building, it's about the people in it." As she walked away to handle another task, Snoop took a moment to reflect. The journey had been more than a business venture. It had been a reminder of the power of standing up for what's right. He thought back to the night he had been turned away. That moment had sparked a change. Not just in the hotel, but in everyone involved, himself included. Meanwhile, Evan, the former front desk clerk, had learned his own lessons. News of his dismissal had spread quickly, and opportunities in the industry dried up. Eventually, he found work in a much humbler setting, where he was forced to confront his prejudices daily. For the first time, he began to understand the weight of his actions. Back at the Imperial Sunset, Snoop noticed a family arriving, parents with 2 young children in tow. The father, a man who bore more than a passing resemblance to Snoop, paused to shake his hand. "I read about what you did here," the man said. "It's inspiring." "Thank you." Snoop simply nodded, his expression warm. "This place is for everyone now," he replied. "That's how it should have always been." As the family moved on, Snoop turned toward the entrance, his heart lighter. He had built many things in his life, records, legacies, a brand. But this was different. This was personal. Looking out at the bustling lobby, he made a silent vow to himself. Every guest, from now on, would leave with a smile, knowing they had been treated with the respect they deserved. In the end, the Imperial Sunset Hotel was more than a building. It was a symbol, a reminder that change begins with a single act of courage and a belief that every person deserves respect.